Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Tom Stewart here, Smart Business Moves. Got Liz out on the West Coast. Good afternoon, Liz.
Yeah.
We've got a really awesome special guest today. We got Curt Kempton from Responsibid. Curt will be telling his story here in just a second, but he knows what it's like to be a contractor in the service world, providing services, and he also knows what it's like to be in the software business and going from one to the other. And he knows a ton about all the ins and outs of how to use online bookings and online tools to get more business, do it more efficiently, and just get more of it to make more money. Hey, that sounds like a smart business move to me. I'm looking forward to hearing this. How you doing, Curt?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on.
We're so grateful that you could be on and that you could spare the time. I know how busy you are, Curt, so really do appreciate it. Yeah. Sarah's trying to figure out Responsibid right now.
Sarah, go ahead and start answering your specific questions in terms of what button and what screen and what do I play. No, we might not get into that
right now.
But seriously, though, if be thinking about your questions for Curt, and you can go ahead and start dropping them in the comments. Before we jump into that, though, let's go ahead and wrap up here for the balance of the week. Tomorrow is On the Spot. We have a special secret guest tomorrow, don't we, Liz?
We do. And my hint for tomorrow was going to be where this guest lives. Where does the guest live, Tom?
Well, how specific do you want me to be? You want me to provide his address, or
no? How about state?
State, Texas.
Okay, I thought just giving the state would be helpful.
I'll give you his cell phone number too, so you can text him, call him. Late at night, he doesn't care.
No, poor guy. He's already leading us and does not need to be called by us.
So what were our other hints?
That he has been on our show multiple times in the past. That he, what was the thing about, is a natural born leader of the flock, of our flock?
Of our flock, yes.
Yeah. And that he owns multiple businesses, but this a specific clue is that is unique to him in some way. And then today's clue of he lives in Texas.
So somebody's got to guess. At least even if you're wrong, come on, this is getting pretty easy here. I might even be able to figure out
the cities. Yeah, don't make us call out the cities here. All right, and then
you got some fans here, Curt.
Hey, yeah, Marlo. Oh, I love Marlo.
Everybody loves Marlo.
Is she gonna be at the QDS retreat this year? Do you think, Marlo? You coming?
I'm sure she is.
I heard stories about the last one. RJ filled in for Liz when she was out doing some real work a couple of weeks ago, and I guess there were some stories that I'm not allowed to repeat them, so we'll just forget about all that.
Well, I think everybody that's ever been to a QDS event is going to agree that there are always going to be stories and you're always going to have a great time. Ooh, Chad Henley, good guess, but no. No, that's not him. He has something, and he
Here we go. Karen's guessing. I guess those are initials.
Yes, good job, Karen. That's the way to do it, girl. And winner, chicken dinner right there, Karen. That's right.
Excellent.
Got it.
Excellent.
All right. So one thing that I should also point out is that I realized this today when I was racing to get to this call on time today, is something that I tend to say almost every day is something like, I love this speaker because of whatever reason. Like, I love this guest for whatever reason. So Curt, the thing that I really love about you that I'm always talking about is that you're so real world, but like with like the old world advice and like right and the like old school, the real true wisdom, but like in young guy cool version, and everything relatable.
Hang on, I gotta go get my kids real quick because I think they need to hear what you're saying.
I'm sure they hear it all the time. But then I'm like, we always are loving every person that we have on here. Yeah, that's true though. That's because I invite them, y'all.
Yeah.
And I'm only inviting people I like. So everybody that's on the call right now, on the Facebook Live right now, pay attention, because over the next couple of weeks, I'm going to be looking hard to find some guests that I don't like, at least one. So be watching.
So if she asks you to join Smart Business Moves, maybe she's telling you something.
And I don't tell you how much I love you and what I love about you, you should be nervous. Yeah. So y'all are gonna have to watch.
Oh my.
Tom's like, she did not just do that. Oh yeah, I did. Yes, I did. The guy who owns more hands, that would be Travis. And nope, it's not gonna be Travis, but Travis is awesome.
Oh, Ernie's got a question here, Liz.
What? Ernie's not afraid. Ernie's not afraid.
I'm not cool. I'm just used to Tom. We're gonna go there. I'm just used to Tom. I've worked with him so much.
Yeah, we're beyond cool.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We go way back, and Liz, there's just too many stories. We just can't even go there.
But it is true, Curt, that I really always walk away from every time that you do any presentation, any speaking. I walk away with a couple of things happening. One, I always feel like, yes, that was good information. I also feel very motivated. I also feel inspired, and I also kind of have like a happy feeling.
Oh, good.
So Megan Likes is very similar for me. You know, I always walk away with kind of that same feeling when I listen to Megan.
That makes me feel really like doubly special. Like,
yeah,
I like to be associated with that. So that's great.
Megan really feels the same way. She's like, oh my gosh, I feel the same way about Curt. I'm like, I know, he's awesome.
And you know what else is true? That these are some unprecedented times that we're in. And it's really important that we make all the smart business moves that we can make. And one of them is using technology to generate more business and quoting online. And, you know, Curt, probably everybody here knows you, but just on the outside chance that maybe we've got somebody here that doesn't, you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and, how you got to where you are. There's a story there. Just kind of take us back to the beginning.
Was it cold? No. Yeah, so I had a window cleaning and pressure washing company here in the Phoenix area, and I ran that for like 3 or 4 years before I realized that I needed to build some sort of way of systematizing quoting. And I was doing a very poor job, by the way. The first couple of years of my business, like I'd had some really negative sales experiences in my life. So I was actually doing probably everything you shouldn't do when you're selling your services. I'm convinced that the first 2 years, God ran my business and just didn't let me put myself out because I viewed sales as a dirty, slimy thing. So like someone would call me to clean their windows and I would like go out there and be like, well, your windows aren't that bad. They really don't need that much work. And maybe if I just wash these ones that really do need work, I could save you a bunch of money. And it was like the worst. But I always had good intentions. And I think that when I started talking to people and realizing that systems would run the operation well, but then I translate that into the sales process, then I realized I could leverage who I was as a person and how my company was an extension of me. And I could find all the points that I wanted to sell and start to convert that into the way that I was gaining business. Yeah. And I realized that I didn't have to do, and I'm not just talking about online bidding, by the way. I'm like at the time, yes, Amazon and eBay definitely had my attention about where the puck was going at the time, so to speak. But I just needed something personally. And I think about 3 years into my business, is when I really started to understand, oh, I need to be selling something other than window cleaning. People have to buy, they expect the window cleaning. What am I going to sell over and above that? And how am I going to move people from wondering if they want to get their windows cleaned or their house pressure washed or whatever, to actually saying, I'm the expert. This is what you need. And you will thank me at the end if you do this. And once I realized that that was the process, that's when I started designing the system to be technologically based. And then people started asking me for it. And then Responsibid was born. And then I couldn't run two companies because I'm not that good. So I sold my window cleaning pressure washing company. And now I've been doing software ever since. How's that?
So when did you start developing the software?
Well, that's a blurry line. I started developing a tool for myself. The very first tool that I designed was really just a way for customers to go on the website. I knew that I did not want to put my pricing on my website just static. Like anyone could just view it. There was lots of reasons for that. I'm sure everybody already knows in their own heart and mind why they probably wouldn't want to do that. Although there are people who are successful that do. But I knew that's not what I wanted to do. So I developed a tool that would take information and exchange it and give prices online. And the reason I did that was because people would fill out online quotes, requests in the middle of the night, and I would reply back in the morning and they'd already booked the job with someone else. So I was really just trying to fix that problem at first.
Okay. Once
I kind of got good at that and I started realizing, whoa, this is actually working. It was actually a Thanksgiving day. We were making a turkey down. My wife and I had my elbows deep into a turkey and we were working. And I had one of those old BlackBerry Storms.
That's an image. Go ahead.
Do you guys remember the old BlackBerry Storms? It's like the first touchscreen phone.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, that little thing.
Yeah, I remember feeling so fancy. And anyway, it was buzzing on the counter like crazy. And my hands were dirty. I was just trying to get stuff done. So we get done with that. And when I go over my phone, I saw that I had closed 3 jobs in the morning of Thanksgiving.
Wow. And
that's when I told my wife, I said, while we were prepping turkey and getting it in the smoker and all that stuff, I just closed 3 jobs. Like now the way they closed back in those days were different, but it was basically the click yes if you would like me to call and schedule the job. So I called and scheduled people, but the answer to all 3 of those people when I called to schedule them was, I knew that nobody else was going to get me a price or come out and quote me, but I've got family coming in town. We're doing stuff and I know it's late, but I need you to come out and do this as soon as possible. But you're the only way I could get that today because no one's going to answer their phones.
When was that? Do you remember?
Yeah, that would have been 2000 and probably 2010.
So nobody was really, I mean, that was,
that was cutting edge at that time.
It was, and it did. It felt like the only kid in the candy store sort of situation. Yeah. And when I told my wife that, I remember she's the one that says, you got to figure out how to bottle up and sell that because she hadn't seen her husband that much. Like I was busy making this business thing happen and doing business things. And she's like, I enjoyed this morning so much. I wish you could just bottle it up and sell it to other husbands that are trying to run a business. And that actually was where things started. Like maybe I should hard code a bunch of these and start giving them away to my friends in the industry. But then that proved to be impossible. So I didn't. But yeah, that's really the exodus. And from that point forward, I started really getting into tech and looking at it, not just from my own company's perspective, but for others. And that was when I started realizing, man, I'm juggling all the time. This is a lot to juggle because you got technicians that just back their van into someone's expensive gate. That was a rough day. And then you've got someone using your software going, hey, Curt, I think we have a bug here. And I'm just like,
So
which is more important, bugger gate.
Exactly.
So like on the software side, there's a concept, you got an idea and you got to, design it. And then the whole process of writing code and doing all the technical stuff to actually make it live. Were you doing all of that?
At the beginning, yeah. Yeah. I self-taught myself like HTML, CSS, and then I learned a little bit of PHP in order to do the like calculations and
So
server
you
side.
would just like you Google it, and you probably had some websites, some resources,
It
and
was
you
that bad.
taught yourself
Yeah.
out. That is
Yeah.
awesome. I'm
Yours-
not worthy. That is awesome.
Your street cred is going up so much right now. Tom has, his own software program, Made Central, that he has other people do. Because
well, I do too now.
It's like
I can do
so much
anything in the
work.
code that we have now. Like, just to be very
And he
clear.
recognizes the work.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, so much work. How are you doing all of that? That's a lot of work. He really knows it from an intrinsic spot. Like me, I'm like, yeah, sounds like a lot of work. He's like, no.
That is awesome. That is.
Well, we knew early on that I didn't want to build a CRM. Like, I knew that I didn't have that kind of skill. I wanted to build something that would connect to CRMs and just do the sales process and funnel all that stuff in. So when I realized that that's what I wanted to do, then I realized, oh man, there's going to be like APIs, and then, as we got more users, and I realized I need a scaling like server and stuff, and I'm like on the Amazon cloud. That's when I realized I don't even know what an EC2 instance is. And like, that's going to become my life. So yes, I hired much smarter people who are way more proficient than I am. But yeah, it's been quite a ride, guys. It's been quite a ride. In fact, if you think it was a ride for me, the ride for my wife, just imagine this. Just imagine being Rachel for a second. Hey, Rach, I think I'm going to open a bike shop, because that was the first thing I was going to do. I'm going to open a bike shop. I told her dad when I asked for her hand in marriage that I was going to open a bike store. I don't know why. He's like, oh, that sounds like
And he said yes?
Yeah.
He still said yes. Awesome. I like this guy.
He said yes. I went to business school. I graduated, outstanding graduating student. I was the number one student in my class at the Arizona State University Business College. So my wife is like thinking, wow, my husband's so smart. We're going to be rich. In fact, she even like said that to me. She's like we're going to because I wasn't going to go to graduation. They called me and they said, hey, it looks like you didn't get your whatever that thing is you wear. And they're like, you need to be there. And I'm like, oh, I had some conflicting plans. They're like, no, you got to be there. So I didn't know what was going on. But anyway, I went. So we're on our way home from graduation. And she's like, we're going to be rich. Look at how smart you are. And I'm like,
and you're like,
yeah. But I go from bike shop to like, oh man, I don't want to do retail. I'm going to do a cleaning company because I want to, be able to be there with my kids at night, at least, So we go through this whole thing like, hey, hon, your super smart husband wants to start a window washing company. And she's like, oh, that's great. Then her super smart husband, who is not looking nearly as smart anymore years later, says, I think I'd like to start a software company. And she's like, degree in business management and administration, window washing. Yes, of course. The next thing you would want to do is start a software company. So she's just along for this crazy ride. And like 2 or 3 years in the software, she's like, so you got this software stuff kind of figured out? And I'm like, no, I'm still figuring it out again every day. Like, I know what I'm doing. Just like a total.
She's worried about what's next.
Yeah. She's like, when is he going to come home and want to start like a theme park or something?
Yeah. But this is your proof. True love, Curt. True love.
Yeah. You know what? That's what I say all the time. Like, I tell her all the time, I said, the sacrifice that you've gone, I will never let you regret the sacrifice that you've gone through, because no woman in their right mind would allow their husband to do the things that you've allowed me to do. So she came to me. Our son started kindergarten or first grade. Sorry. It was all day school. She comes to me in the morning. We're walking back from the bus stop and she said, Curt, I think I want to do something with my day other than just be at home. And I said, I think you should. What are you thinking? She's like, I don't know. I went down for lunch that very day. I went down because I work from home, went down for lunch. We're eating lunch. And she said, I enrolled for nursing school. And I said,
wow.
I'm sorry, what? Excuse me?
Wow.
I can't say no. I can't say no.
Well, it kind of runs in your family then, I guess. You just sort of do the thing. Whatever it is. Yeah. I like it. Yeah. So Curt, tell us about some of the strategies. Like for people that are wanting to, so like the title of the show today is Get Over Your Fear, right? And a lot of people are really afraid booking online and being able to sell. They don't think they'll be able to. They're afraid that somebody's going to tell them that their house is really clean, and then they're going to get out there and they're going to lose their shirt. Right? So talk us through some of this stuff.
Curt, I mean, you live in this world. You could probably take the rest of the hour just going through a list of all of the reasons that people don't want to book online. Do you have like a top 3 you could share with us? What are like the top 3 pushbacks you get on online booking?
Well, I think the way I can talk about the top 3 is if I can just bring it to an analogy, because I think it'll open your mind to sort of what the thought process is. Very commonly, and I say very commonly, I hate to even admit this because I love my customers so much. It pains me to think I would ever lose a customer. But at least 2 people a month, this happens. So I'm going to talk about hang gliding. Imagine that you're standing down on the ground and you're watching a person on a hang glider above you, and you're admiring what they must be experiencing. Mm-hmm. And this person, you might even be able to see their face. Like if they're low enough, you could actually like see the wind in their hair. It's exciting. It's exhilarating. You think that's what I want. And I feel like that's sort of like online booking. That's sort of the Responsibid automated emails and follow-up going out. It's sort of like, wow, look at this business owner. I sure would love to be able to experience that. And you know, but of course,
and it looks so easy.
It looks so easy and gliding and all that.
Yeah.
And then, but of course, there's always that fear, like, hey, business owner up in that hang glider, aren't you afraid that gravity will shove you to the ground and smother you and kill you? Because that's what logic tells me. And then the person up there says, I get why you think that. All your life, anything that's dropped off of a cliff slams in the ground and smashes.
Are those power lines over there?
Yeah, exactly.
A lot of things can go wrong.
Yeah. So, like, I get it. But that person will somehow on the ground looking up, somehow at some point they go, even though it defies all logic, I'm going to do it. I want to do this. I want to try it. And so they walk up to the top of the hill. And that I'm kind of comparing to the idea of, I think I'm going to explore what Responsibid is, or I'm going to explore automation or online quoting in one way, shape, or form. Mm-hmm. And so people get to the top of this cliff, and the view's beautiful. And right at the top of the cliff, there's this guy. His name is David Westover. He is your guide. He is there. He's excited to help you pick your glider, helps you build it out and design it just for your weight and your specifications and what you want to do, and asks you the questions and helps you tune it all up. And these business owners, what happens is they get to the top and they're like, this is exciting. I'm working. I'm systematizing. I feel so business owner-esque. Like, this is exciting for me. And so they build this thing out. And I told you, this happens at least twice a month. I mean, you know, people get up there and they're just so enthusiastic. And then what happens, and this is total human nature, of course it's going to happen if you think about it. They walk up to the edge, they have their hang glider, and David goes to go help someone else put another hang glider together, and they go,
whoa.
No, not me. Not today. Not today. They go and they set the hang glider down, they run to the bottom of the hill, and they say, today I'm going to live life normal, but tomorrow I'm going to go up to the top and I'm going to use that hang glider up there. So in this analogy, Tom asked, what are the top 3 reasons? I think that for people who have always done things on their own and had the most success in their life, seeing that they care about their business. It happens with employees all the time. I sent out an employee, they did a bad job. I'm never hiring employees ever again. I'm going to get small again. The email talks about that. I like the idea of people getting quotes online, but maybe I tried it and someone got a bad quote, and I didn't go in and refine the system. I just took it down. So what happens is there's this fear that if I'm not the one doing it, if I don't hit send on that email, if I don't go out and give that quote and stare them in the face, the fear of someone else not doing it as good as you, or your automation not having the feelings that you do, that everything will crumble. Yeah. So I think that's the biggest thing is, and I'll just define it as fear, but don't forget that God made you be afraid of things like hang gliding and jumping off cliffs because he wants you to live. God put that in you on purpose. It wasn't an accident. But that all said,
even if you don't believe in God, you still have an innate belief that it's not
and
smart to jump off
life.
If we weren't wired that way, we wouldn't be here having this discussion, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And so if I say the top one is fear, I think right behind fear is sort of that control. Like maybe that drives your fear, but also maybe it's that person who's always used index cards to do all of their businesses, all in index cards and hard copy file cabinets, because I know that when I control everything, I must be in control or else I'm out of control.
Yeah.
And so that's another really popular reason. And then I think the third one is just very logistical. It's like I have, like, in the office, there's this line, does anyone have any questions? And this girl in the back raised her hand and goes, "Number one, how dare you?" Because in our minds, when you have 1,000 questions, you have an impossible thing. And I think that, like, how can my quotes be accurate? How can the customer account for drive time? How can we account for a dirty house that's dirtier than they say it's going to be? How can we account for toilets that are this type of toilet versus that type of toilet, and hard water stains in the showers, and blah, 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 blah. I mean, we can go on.
It just never work.
Yeah. So what happens is we get all these things in our mind about what could go wrong. And instead of like taking on each one and just sort of like, in Responsibid, we sort of like try to like have them pre-handled for you, but there's a lot of things that might require input from you. But it could be package pricing. It could be like, how could I ever sell in packages? We only offer the best. And if I go out and offer something other than the best, then I'm not my company anymore. Well, there's things that we need to talk about there too. But the key is when you have 1,000 things, that's really, how do you eat an elephant? You take one bite at a time. And every single thing is that if you will just take that task and make it disappear, what happens is you don't get to the top of Mount Everest in one big fell jump. What's going to happen is you're going to do a few steps and a few more. And by the time you get to the top, you look back and you go, those are just a bunch of steps I took. Once you've done something, it's just something you've done. But ironically, on the other side of that, when you look at something you haven't done yet, it's like, how could I ever do that? So,
yeah. And what I think, speaking to what Marlo is talking about on the screen here, I think also what happens for people is they look to these other people that can do it, and they're like, they have this big but it won't work for me because, and they have these reasons that make perfect sense within their scenario, and they don't see the answer out there to their big but.
You don't understand we're different.
Well, and that's the thing is that that's the consistent inconsistency, right? Like, everybody. It's funny because some of our best clients are the people who came into the program going, well, like Marlo was just saying there, scheduling, like how could a customer ever schedule themselves? We sit down and we go, well, tell me the 4 things that you're considering when you're trying to schedule a customer. And they're like, oh gosh, there's not just 4 things. There's a million considerations.
Yeah.
Like, okay. Well, let's go through them. Do you care about who is capable of what kind of cleaning? Yes. And do you care about where they are at, where their jobs are at in relationship to the person trying to schedule? Well, yeah, of course. And do you care about if the person trying to schedule his job will fit into the actual workday given the jobs that are already there? Yes. And what other things are you considering? Well, a million other things. Okay, what are those things? Because let me tell you something what a computer is really good at. A computer is really good at doing a lot of calculations in milliseconds, which is 1,000th of a second. So in about typically 1 second, our scheduling calculator does 10,000 calculations. And it's doing all the things that feel in your own brain. There is a lot. There's a lot of considerations, and they're hard. But a computer's really good at it. And so what happens are a lot of our best customers come in and they go, you have no idea, Curt. This is not possible. And then we go, okay, let's just break it down. And let's just see what happens when we put stuff that you're doing through it. As soon as you can see it, there's this relief like, so my brain is not the only place that this can happen. Because if you have that realization, all of a sudden you go, she said, I'd have so much free time. Like what are the possibilities here?
Yeah, it's totally true. So like, what would you say to so Leslie's saying the same thing as Marlo. Would you say to both of these people something along the lines of maybe just try it? Or would it be, maybe connect them up with somebody else that had the same kind of, buts, and hook them up with those people? Or, how do they get themselves over this hump? Because my guess is that y'all want to get over that hump. They're both loving Responsibid, right? But it's that piece. It's a scary little piece there, right?
Let's go back to the hang glider analogy. I always tell David, we got to lovingly shove these people off the cliff. We got to love them right off. And here's the thing. You can't love someone off the cliff who hasn't built the hang glider yet. You'll kill them. We can't have people trying stuff and say, just try it. There needs to be like some faith in the system and know, why don't you try it first? And if it brings you the same results that you would have found on your own, then now you can like start, try a little more.
Yeah.
But the other thing you need to do is you've got to at least start squashing the bugs. And I think sometimes sitting down with someone, whether it's another Responsibid user, whether it's someone at Responsibid, or whether it's I know Launch 27 does something similar to Responsibid. And there's other softwares out there, presumably that, do different categories of these things.
Main Central does this. I mean, there's lots of them that can book online.
But the thing is that if you don't sit down with someone and start at least trying to make the hang glider work, you can't, like people say, well, maybe I just need to go try it. And what I'm saying is don't jump to your death just to prove to yourself a point, and then you'll never want to come back. You gotta do something to make yourself comfortable and to know it's safe. I know I used to just absolutely love rappelling. And one of the things that I would have to tell myself every time I got off the edge, like in our window cleaning company, we washed the biosphere. So it was a real big glass building out in the middle of the desert. And whenever I go over the edge, the thing I always had to tell myself is this rope can hold a car. So it certainly can hold you. Well, that image in my mind of kind of doing that groundwork ahead of time and knowing and having that full faith in it was sort of what gave me the guts to go over the edge. And I think that that's a lot of times what happens is that people will say, if I just go with blind faith, this rope will hold me. Why don't you take the time to just make sure that everything's good and then do it? And so just running some things through manually on your own, through whatever system you're using is important.
But one of the cool things about what you're talking about is you're not jumping off of buildings, you're not flying airplanes. I mean, you implement online booking, and maybe you don't get everything right at the beginning, but we all live to come back tomorrow and try it.
Yeah, nobody's dying. Yeah,
and that's the thing about trying it on your own is that if you scheduled 4 or 5 customers wrong next month, what would happen to your business? Or if you gave out 4 bad quotes in the next month, what would happen to your business? Now I'm going to ask you this. What would happen if you ran 4 or 5 quotes through a system and they came out wrong, but you're able to fix them before you let the customer see the pricing?
And if you're honest, you probably gave out 4 or 5 bad quotes last month with whatever it is that you're doing.
Bingo. That's the other thing. I had someone I was in a meeting with a customer, like maybe just the end of last week. She is the sweetest woman. You guys, you would love her. She was at Responsicon. Everyone magnetizes to her, but she's a very artistic person. And she said, Curt, I've been doing this for 15 years. Will you just go through my pricing and tell me that pricing is good so I can finally take this anxiety away? And she says, I'm sure I've given nothing but bad quotes my whole entire life. I said, to this nice woman, I said, sweetheart, it's wrong. If you say it's wrong, it's right. If you say it's right. And economics at the end, of course, will dictate. If you've been in business 15 years, then something's happening correctly. But what you have to do is you have to understand that if you're waiting for someone else, as you as the entrepreneur, to come up and stamp of approval what you're doing and whatever, right means that you're economically sound and you're moving forward. But there's a lot of ways to be right, a lot of ways. And the way that you're doing it probably still produces results that you're not super happy with sometimes. And that's kind of the law of averages, isn't it?
Yeah, and sometimes it produces results that you are happy with. Same as almost every system. You got to tweak it until it works. I work with a lot of people, and regardless of whether they're doing in-home quotes, over the phone quotes, they're having them book automatically, there is a margin of error. I can't even tell you how many people go out, look at the job, see exactly what the dirt is, and still bid wrong. Because we don't see everything. We don't know all of the different things. We can't even see it all. So,
well, there's something to be said.
Really valid point.
There's something to be said. One of the comments I get at the trade shows often is that people will come up and say, the thing I wasn't most prepared for about Responsibid or any automated quoting that's more mechanical than emotional. They say, I love that it has no soul. It has no heart. When someone gets a quote through Responsibid, they don't go, oh, that person probably couldn't afford this, or, oh, I should probably give them a break because of X, Y, or some weird, reason.
Oh, she's retired.
Yeah. And they said they'll go to a job sometimes and they'll see like, this is a really pricey job. And then they get there and go, holy cow, I would have never charged this person this price. But sometimes mechanical, like you said, like if you're going to deal with the law of averages anyway, sometimes that mechanical approach to quoting, and we haven't even talked about package pricing, and we haven't even talked about some of this whole like no contact versus, high contact touch and where to find those balances. The most important part, whether you're doing high contact or no contact, is that if the system is allowed to be set up correctly to begin with, then if it gets done the right way every time, at least your law of averages is always going to end up in your favor, because Responsibid or any other automated quoting is not going to go, I have this other thought, I'm going to do it different this time, and then you regret it.
What you're saying, Curt, even if you aren't booking online, if you're doing it on a phone, or even if you're going out in person and doing it, you need something, even as a spreadsheet, that you're plugging some stuff in, some data in, and it's spitting out a number.
That's right.
And
something mechanical.
If your prospective client says, well, that's awful high, it's like, well, I'm sorry, my hands are tied. The computer's smarter than I am. The computer says, you got somebody else to blame. You can blame the technology.
Yeah. I just found the comment.
I'm sorry.
After all this time. Sarah,
I do have to explain it better in the beginning. I'm sorry about that, Curt. Yeah.
Oh, that's okay. Sarah, I love that Sarah said this though. She said, LOL, I can't bid in person anymore because I lower the price every time. That was what I struggled with my whole first couple of years. I would walk in and they'd be like, I'm an Air Force veteran, served in, Iraq and did all this. And I'm like, you know what? You get a free window cleaning. I love you. Thanks for all you've done.
Thank you for your service.
Absolutely. I've done it so many times, I can't even give you an example, because it's just it was part of my DNA for years.
But
it was almost, and it actually almost became a badge of honor.
But I'm looking at my computer screen and I'm sorry, there's no field for me to input that. I wish I could, but the system won't let me.
Oh man, there's a lot of great comments.
All right, so now you're like, gosh, look at all these great comments. All right, Tom, you have to let me explain about the comments, because you don't see it the way we see it on our side. So you explain it differently.
Okay, how about it?
All right, there's a lot of people on here that like you and love you, obviously. Martha, did we get her comment here? Marlo, I know that Royce told Martha, when she had that same concern, that he has ended up using CrewCal to schedule even when he's on the phone with somebody, because CrewCal is a smarter scheduler than a human, which is exactly the point, right? That mechanical piece. And so I want to point out one thing to you guys. Like going to what Tom was saying, you don't have to use Responsibid, you don't have to use CrewCal, you don't have to use any of these. The reason why you want to have a mechanical something helping you out is to combat your natural emotional tendency to undercut yourself. And it doesn't take away your control. This is the other piece. So you're punching it in, you have the opportunity to say, oh gosh, I'm sorry. There's no field for that. There's no way for me to change it. But you also have the opportunity, if you want, to be able to make changes, to be able to modify, but in a mechanical way. Again, so maybe, well, I could reduce your service, I could reduce your price. All I have to do is take off this bedroom. Or all I have to do is do this thing. So again, you can work with the mechanical piece, and you don't have to you can still have control, y'all. Like maybe you need that first step. You don't have to like give it all up, and like Curt was saying earlier, you don't have to be just like, all right, nothing's built, and okay, I'm just gonna try it and fly to my death. You don't have to do that.
Well, if we could just like poll everybody, I wish there was a way to like get everyone to like say something right now, because I'm curious, if I was to say you're a salesperson to everyone in this room, in this live, I wonder what feelings come across them, because the truth of it is they are. Like, if you own a business, you're a salesperson, and maybe you don't even do the sales of your service anymore, but you sell every day, and without sales, you're out of business. But I wonder what people would feel. And I have a feeling that most people, maybe I'm just looking through the lenses of my own experience, but I've seen really terrible salespeople treat me in a way where they were like, just they're closing me and they're working me over, and it makes me feel gross. And so I've always like worried about that term somehow tainting like, oh, well, if I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a salesperson, then I must be like that. But I feel like what you were talking about, Liz, is that I can, as the entrepreneur, I have the right to take people. Yeah. Pam says salespeople are icky. Yeah.
That's the technical term.
Yeah, that's right. But the thing is that if you're viewing it through the lens of a good salesperson connects people with the things that they need, and understand that people are calling you on the phone because they want the things you have. I think that the mechanical side of it, and viewing the way you build your sales system, and hopefully we can talk about a few little psychological tricks that you can play that will allow the user to have the experience that they need to have, but also prepare you to be able to produce what it is that the customer is actually signing up for. And if you can design it that way, then yeah, if you want to give a military discount of 10%, you can make that part of your system and say, that's what we do. And cool, you did it. But the thing is that, and Ernie says it right perfectly here, nothing happens until someone sells something. And I think that if you have your DNA in it and you hopefully don't view yourself as an icky person, it can be the most wonderful experience that a customer can have.
Well,
so we're just point of information. We've got about 10 more minutes. And Curt, we've done enough of these to know that some of these, Facebook Lives, we get to the end of the hour, we've pretty much covered what we were going to cover. This isn't going to be one of those. So, we'll figure out what we'll do here at the top of the hour. But with a little bit of time that we have left, there's a couple of things I'm curious. I hope we can jam in. One is, what have you learned over the years by helping people automate the sales process online in terms of expected outcomes? I know there's a lot of fear, but if you're able to like get on that hang glider and jump off the cliff, you're going to be able to generate more revenue. You're going to be able to get, more accurate quotes, just anecdotally, if nothing else. What type of feedback do you get when people jump off the cliff? And then in the time that we have left, if you could just give us quick hit tips in terms of, regardless of how you're doing your quoting, things you can do to make it better.
Yeah. So the one thing I have learned is that people who automate their quoting at least from the process, like you said, it was a spreadsheet, Tom. If you at least automate your quoting to the point where you make it easier to scale, you will close a higher percent of jobs. And the reason is because you'll get out of your own way. Just what we were talking about earlier. I know that if you will systematize your quoting, you will close a higher percent of jobs than you're closing if you're doing emotional bidding. But to take that one step further, if you will offer your customers multiple options, not too many. We can use the whole Donald Miller bowling ball example. Donald Miller says, if I hand you a bunch of bowling balls, I can hand you 1, 2, even 3, and you'll be okay. But if I hand you 4 or even 5, you'll hold no bowling balls. So I'm not talking about giving your customers 15 options. Mm-hmm. It's mentally, if you can offer them 3 easy to manage, non-Vaseline wrapped bowling balls that are easy to understand, your customer will move from research mode to decision mode. And what you'll find is that not only will your close rate go up dramatically from there, but you will find that your average ticket price will rise by about 67%, is what our numbers show us, is that you will just in that get people to stop going, okay, well, let me just call around and get some more pricing. If you give people packages, you are going to, your price of what you sell your customers will go up by 67% on average.
What does a package look like in the house cleaning industry?
So the house cleaning industry does drive me a little bit crazy, because there are some people who just believe one way, and then you can talk to the next person and they believe something totally different. So I'm going to give you a couple different examples, and I might give people a stroke with some of these examples. But here we go.
No stroke.
Yeah. No one have a stroke. I'm asking you. But here's one way of doing it. I'd like to get my house cleaned. Here's some information about my house. Option 1, this is what it would cost to come and do a one-time move in, move out deep cleaning. Option number 2, here's what it would cost if we came every other week. Option number 3, here's what a monthly package would cost for you. Now, the reason some people have a stroke about that is that they're like, I'm never doing anything but a one-time clean for the first time, and then from there we earn their business. And then other people are like, I would never do a one-time only cleaning. That's crazy. So you can use intervals as one way to delineate the same exact service, but knowing how close those intervals will be to each other. Now, a totally different way of doing it would be to say, we do a basic cleaning. We come in, we sweep your floors, we vacuum your carpets, we wipe down all your plumbing fixtures, we maybe even clean the bathrooms nice and good. But if you want the next package up that mops the floors and deep cleans, X, Y, or Z, then that would be included. And then you might say, we have this other package that involves a refrigerator clean out, doing dishes, folding laundry, and it's just crazy over the top, but it's for a specific type of customer who's going to drive a Lamborghini and buy that package. I mean, that's that type of person. So some of this will be determined based on your market. Some of it will be very personal, like the way that you see a business running. And by the way, there's even other ways of doing it. You could say we have a move-in, move-out cleaning, and we have 3 levels of that. And we have a bi-weekly cleaning. We have 3 levels of that. But you can't buy a bi-weekly cleaning until you've bought the other one of those other packages first, and then you can move into that. So,
Sounds like a lot of bowling balls.
Yeah. But as long as you know what you're doing, and as long as you can express that to a customer. I was reading the comments up here. Who was it that said that you can add videos in? The video part is where they can start falling in love with you and falling in love with your methodology. So one of the things that I love talking about is unique selling propositions. Like, if you buy from us, you will only get these things. You can't get them from anywhere else. Well, sometimes you are that unique selling proposition. I saw that Dawn Winter's in here somewhere. Where's Dawn?
She's up top.
Okay. So Dawn, she came to Responsicon and she took advantage of the video recording booth. And she says, I am a nice person, but I just don't want to be in front of the camera. Well, I'm like, hey, nice person. None of your competitors want to get in front of the camera either. Get in front of the camera. So she did it. And she did it probably without quite so much in your face stuff. But when she's in front of the camera, when someone falls in love with Dawn, they're not going to be able to go to business anywhere other than Dawn to Dust Cleaning. And number 2, if Dawn is explaining the process, like we offer this and then you're eligible for that, or we offer this cleaning, and this cleaning, but most people choose this cleaning because they really love this thing. What happens is the customer's more invested in you. They're falling in love with sort of you, but they're also falling in love with the process that you're putting them through. And now I don't have to explain the 17 different processes I chose not to follow. I'm making it very clear how you will do business with me and why you will absolutely love it. And guess what? Dawn did something that she was afraid of doing. And now that she's done it, she has it. And she can put it in front of every single customer, and every customer has that wonderful experience as soon as they get a quote from her of her talking to the customer, even if someone else gives the quote. Beautiful.
Super nice. Yeah. All right. So we do have a question on here. Linda wants to know about Responsibid. It sounds like she doesn't know about it. So Tom, maybe you could throw a link up here while Curt's talking. Let's see. So you asked about, you answered the first question that Tom had. And then the next question that he had also was, you have like a few, you said you had some psychological tips, Curt?
Yeah.
Can you throw a couple of those out for us?
Absolutely.
And
So,
I'll mute.
yeah, one of the things that people forget is that a lot of times you're playing a totally losing game when a customer calls you. Sometimes a customer calls you and they think that a maid service visit should cost $20. And it's ridiculous that they believe that that's true, but that doesn't matter that it's ridiculous. It's what they think. And so when you throw out $150 cleaning and they think you're a highway robber, you're both right, because one person was living in a false reality, and to them, you're a highway robber. So it's as true as it's going to be for them. And you're right that how in the world could I possibly send someone to your house for $20, let alone get out of the car and do something? So here's what I'm recommending to people. It's a psychological trick that should be included in all your pricing. You should have a package that is so ridiculously awesome that no one's going to buy it. And the reason I think that's important is that if you build a package out that elevates your company of what you're capable of doing, that you might do maybe 12 times a year, maybe once a month, you'll do it for someone. But if you offer a cleaning that high, it does two things. It elevates your company, but let's go back to that person who's $20. If you offered them a cleaning, just an ultimatum, you said, yes, ma'am, I will come and clean your house. It will be $150 for the first visit. And that person says, you're a highway robber. They were never going to do business with you because $20, they were never going to do it. But now if I come and I say, we have an $800 package that includes all of these things, what do you suppose that person who thinks that it's going to cost $20 is going to say? Oh, heck no. Yeah, they're going to go, not only no, but heck no. And the reason that they're saying that is because you just took them off of a totally false reality and brought them into another, someone's reality. This could be done, but it's bringing them back to the real world. When you tell them about the next package that's $250, you are not competing with 20 anymore. You are now competing with 800. And now I'm using very round and weird numbers, and take it for what it's worth. We could do the same thing with $300 if we needed to. But if you can offer a service that's truly worth $800 and that people truly who drive Lamborghinis and buy that service want to buy, and it's a fair price, when you get to that $250 and the $150 options, your likelihood of that $20 person hanging up the phone and calling someone else to find out that they were living on Mars and not on Venus like they're supposed to be. I kill myself. The point is that if they get pulled back to reality by you and they get the real world scenario at that time, that's when you'll help them to actually move from research mode to decision mode. The other cool thing is that when you see someone who sells a really high-end thing and you can't afford that really high-end thing, how does it make you feel when you buy that low-end thing? I keep talking about Lamborghini. I don't know anything about cars.
I want the good thing. I want the good thing.
If Lamborghini came out with a car that was exactly like a Toyota Camry, but it had a Lamborghini stamp on the front, do you suppose that Lamborghini Camry is going to sell for more, less, or the same as the Toyota Camry?
More. It's better.
It's just going to. And that's what you do with your company. When you show what you're capable of doing and someone can't really move forward with that, they move into the other and they feel at home. They know that if they can handle that, they can handle this, and they move from that $20 mindset to a reality.
Okay, so there is a great book that explains this theory in detail, and I can't remember the name of it. I'm looking around my office trying to find it.
Oh,
You guys know what book it is?
I thought you were going to say men are from Mars or women are from Venus. That did
No.
say for marriage, but I have no idea what you're talking about.
Maybe Psycho-Cybernetics? Is that it, Tom? Do you know?
I'm not sure where you.
So while you do this, I'm going to go look at it, and I'll give you guys the title in a second. I'm going to go find it in my library.
If you want to know more about Curt's business, I got, Responsibid is, I guess, the mothership, and everything you want to know. And just here, I dropped the URL and the link. Anything here in particular, Curt, that we'd want to take a peek at?
Yeah, I think that little video up at the top will just sort of help explain the concept of what we're talking about as far as, getting the maximum dollar for your business. But what I really, if you want to know about Responsibid is the selling process that hooks up to whatever CRM you're using, hopefully. And I know that like Made Central, we don't have a direct connection with you guys, and we probably should have a conversation about that. But basically the concept is your salespeople work inside of Responsibid to sell, to give quotes, good, better, best quotes, to incorporate video into their quotes, to systematize and make it so their quotes are nice and pragmatic and take into account drive distance and drive times and costs. But also it allows you to be able to follow up with every quote you give, never lose that opportunity. And then the last thing is that we have a schedule smartly part that will read the calendar that you're already using. And then we will take into account whoever's trying to schedule, and we'll find the perfect spot in that calendar and make suggestions based on where, how fast the job would take each crew and who's available and how far they'd have to drive. And it takes all that stuff into account. And then at that moment, Responsibid sort of hands it off and lets you do your work in your work CRM. So all Responsibid does is augment and improve the sales process.
And you talked about the scheduling part. Is that the crew cal?
Yeah, it's the crew cal feature in Responsibid. Yeah.
Is there a separate website for that?
No, it's if you go to the pricing, we call it intelligent scheduling. When you get into the software, you explain it, but
this one website that we dropped, I'll drop it in the chat again just to make sure everybody gets it. This is one stop. You go there and you can get everything that you need, and I'm sure it's got information on how to reach you or your folks for more information too, right, Curt?
Yeah,
of course.
I agree with you, Don, right? He is so fun to listen to. So enthusiastic. He's inspiring and motivating. Okay, here's my book, though, you guys. And what you want to look at is the author's name is Robert B. Cialdini. And it's this book, but there's also another one that's called Persuasion. Either one is going to get you the same exact information that Curt is talking about. It tells you the psychology behind it.
Why it's not going to be nearly as fun as hearing it from Curt.
No, nowhere near as fun. But if you love listening to Curt, you're going to like reading both of these books.
Yeah.
If you haven't subscribed to Cleaning Business Today, it is really, really easy. Email, first name, last name. You get our newsletter. Tomorrow is Thursday. The newsletter will be coming out. One of the things you'll see in the newsletter is Smart Business Move schedule for next week. So you'll get a preview of what we're doing next week before we can even share it with you tomorrow afternoon. You subscribe to our newsletter. Our resource page with all of the downloads and links and other information that we share on Smart Business Moves. I'm dropping the link in chat there.
Good job, Tom.
It is 2 minutes after the hour. Curt, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All hail. All hail, Curt. Yeah, I'm not even joking. It's super, super awesome that you're able to come on the Facebook Live with us today. Super, super helpful. I know a lot of people get from it.
Curt, I'm hoping we can do this again sometime not too far in the distant future, because I feel like we just started scratching the surface on the real strategy of the sales process. And, we work really hard, cleaning homes every day. And if we can just get some of the sales processes and more close rate, higher close rate, higher bill rate, we get a ton more value out of the calories we burn every day. And I think that you've got information that can help us figure out how to do that.
Absolutely. Let's do it. Let's talk. Let's do a meeting like this where we just talk about like 3 strategies.
Okay.
And there's so many things that won't even cost you money that you just start doing.
All right.
Okay.
I am writing it down right now, Curt, and I'll reach out to you as soon as we get off this call.
Okay, cool.
Okay, guys. Tomorrow is On the Spot, and some of you, I think, maybe have an idea of who our secret guest is. And if you do, I'm sure you'll be here tomorrow, 5 o'clock Eastern. Till then, take care, be safe, and we'll see you tomorrow at 5. Bye-bye.
One thing, if you didn't catch the initial